Hi, I'm Nona Hendryx, and this is 5 Questions with She Knows Tech. I am a songwriter, singer, producer, and multimedia artist. I come from more of an acoustic background because of when I started. I was always creating my own music as a songwriter and constantly waiting for musicians to come and help me with what it was I was creating, and sometimes it would be just really frustrating. So I began to just explore and discover synthesizers and recording equipment, and by reading manuals I recognized that I was really good at reading manuals and figuring out how to work a piece of equipment. And a friend of mine helped me also by saying, you know, why don't you just get it was a Mac Plus, one of the first, no, it was Apple II. And then I got the Mac Plus, and I was completely lost in that world of computers and have been ever since. The first person who really helped me move forward in technology was actually a woman. She encouraged me by teaching me how to solder and wire my first mixing board. And she was the first female engineer that I came across, that I met in my career. And her name is Roberta Grace, and she continues to be a friend to this day. And that was just, it opened another world to me, that I was able to take wires, learn the spectrum of colors, how to read a channel on a mixing board, and actually wire my 8-track tape recorder to the mixing board and make my own music that way. In my career, just in terms of women in the music business and how I was supported or not supported by it, the time that it was most evident to me was I overheard someone saying, "Oh, this is rock music and she's black. She should not be making this kind of music. I don't know how we're going to promote it." And they didn't realize I was standing there, and they turned around and there I was. And you know, I said, you know, this is my music, and you're supposed to be the record company that's supporting me, and if you don't get it, then you shouldn't act, you should let the company know that you can't do it and not just gossip about it. And that was a rude awakening for me, that I realized the record company I was with did not really have my interest at heart, and I actually later on moved on to another label. Positively, the artists that I worked with who saw that as a woman I was capable of producing them, and also an A&R person in the music business saw that I was, as a woman, that they would hire me to produce a group. They were called the Bush Tetras, and a downtown new wave punk group, made 3 women, and the guy was a drummer, Pat, and anyway, so that was a very positive thing. It was very, for me, to have someone say, okay, we want you to produce us, and the record company to say, yes, we want you to produce us. And Jim Farrat was the A&R man, and he was very supportive of my career. One of my main endeavors, and specifically as an ambassador for Berklee College of Music, is to encourage young women to come into the technology field, to study technology at Berklee, and to go on and enter into the workforce for the future. One of the things I recognized through reading an article, even after this has been a passion of mine, was that in the next 10 to 15 years, the graduates from college who will go into technology will be about 27%. Of that percentage, 3% will be women, and then of that percentage, the percentage of women of color who will go into technology is very small. And it is my mission to increase that number for women, and specifically young women of color. I have started an organization called Sisters, SMATR, stands for Science, Math, Art, Technology, and Robotics, to encourage young girls between the age of 13 and 17 to go into those fields using art as the springboard, because a lot of parents won't allow their daughters to get involved in technology, or it's getting better. But if it's tied to an art activity or something to dance, because you can use technology in dance, you can use it in visuals, in painting, music, and so through that their minds and their curiosity may be started, and they can further go into technology once they see that it's something that they can apply to other areas in their life. We are 51% of the species, so I think that men should recognize that we have a larger share of the planet and get on board with supporting us. And whether it's your daughter or your mother or your wife or your sister or your a woman in your life, if there is the curiosity, and even if there isn't, I mean, if you have the opportunity to introduce them to it, be supportive. You know, giving advice is a pretty precarious thing to do. Stay curious about what it is that you're doing. If you have a passion for it, it really is ultimately about being in love with something that you're doing that brings you joy, that you can then share that joy with others. And that will always, always feed you, whether it's monetarily, whether it's spiritually, whether it's new information and knowledge. And that to me is more valuable than any money, because money comes and goes. But the joy of what you do and the joy that what you can share with others in life. I mean, it really is about being of service to each other in this life that we have.